It's every pet owner's worst nightmare. One minute, your animal is totally fine, happy and healthy, and the next, they're in the middle of a serious crisis. It's just terrifying. Well, today we're going to dive right into one of those stories, a real-life veterinary mystery where a backyard chicken's life is literally hanging by a thread. So let's put you in the owner's shoes for a second. Imagine you go outside and find your chicken, who was just happily scratching around yesterday, suddenly unable to even stand up. I mean, where do you possibly begin? We're going to follow a vet's journey step by step as they try to solve this exact puzzle. So our story starts with this mysterious illness, a mal mystérieux, that just came out of nowhere. No warning signs, nothing. This is really the first piece of the puzzle, figuring out what could cause such a sudden and total collapse. And the speed of this is what's so scary. The day before, she was perfectly fine. Today, the owner described her as completely blocked. She just couldn't move, and you could tell she was in really bad shape. This wasn't some slow, gradual sickness. Nope, this was a full-blown medical emergency. Okay, so with a case this confusing, the veterinarian has to basically become a detective. They can't just guess. They have to start a real investigation, ruling things out one by one, all while hunting for those tiny clues that might crack the case. And this is basically the vet's clue sheet. It's a perfect look at how this works. On the one hand, you have what they've ruled out. An X-ray showed no broken bones. An ultrasound confirmed there wasn't a stuck egg. And it didn't look like a typical respiratory bug. But then you have the clues they did find. 1, she had extreme pain in her back and hip area. 2, she had a really high fever. And 3, and this is a big one, there was a distinct fishy smell. Now that might sound strange, but for a vet, that smell is a classic telltale sign of a really nasty bacterial infection, often from something like E. coli. So, with those clues on the table, the intense pain, that high fever, and of course, that very specific smell, the pieces of the puzzle finally start clicking into place. The vet can now go from just looking at symptoms to actually pinpointing a diagnosis. And the diagnosis? A bacteria circulatoire, which is a systemic infection. So what does that mean? It means the problem wasn't just in her leg or her gut. Oh no, the bacteria had actually broken into her bloodstream and was now waging a full-scale war on her entire body, from the inside out. But how in the world does something like that even happen? Well, the vet's #1 theory is this 4-step disaster. It probably started with an egg breaking inside the hen before it was ever laid. Then, even if she passed most of it, some of that organic material got left behind. That debris then became the perfect breeding ground for bacteria, sparking a huge infection. And finally, that infection got so bad it just overwhelmed her local defenses and burst into her bloodstream, going systemic. So the enemy has been identified. Now the question is, how do you fight a war on 2 fronts? You've got the hen's awful pain on one side and this life-threatening infection on the other. The vet came up with a very clear 2-part plan of attack. And here's that strategy broken down. For the pain, they gave her Metacam. That's a strong anti-inflammatory for animals, kind of like ibuprofen for us, but for pets. And for the infection itself, she got something called pneumobiotic, which is a powerful, broad-spectrum antibiotic. It's exactly what you need when you're trying to fight a massive body-wide infection. But, and this is a really big but, even with a clear diagnosis and a solid battle plan, the situation was still incredibly serious. And that brings us to the toughest part of this story, the very uncertain prognosis. The veterinarian did not sugarcoat it at all. The assessment was blunt, honest, and probably heartbreaking to hear. They told the owner straight up, I don't have much hope for her. And that's the harsh reality of a systemic infection. Once it really takes hold, it is just incredibly difficult for the body to fight it off. So faced with that grim outlook, the owner had to make a really tough mental shift. As she put it, I'm going to work from the principle that the hen will pass away. Now, that doesn't mean she was giving up. Not at all. It's more like emotional self-protection, preparing for the worst, for the most likely outcome, while still giving the treatment every single chance to work. If the hen somehow pulled through, she said, it would be a beautiful success. And this whole situation really brings us to a fundamental question for anyone who has ever owned a pet. When the odds are just stacked so high against you, what does it really take to pull an animal back from the brink? This story is such a powerful reminder of that razor-thin line between modern medicine, hope, and the sometimes harsh realities of nature. It just leaves you wondering, can a desperate case truly be saved?